I'm a little disappointed. You see, 10 days ago, I made my MP an offer. You see, I'm uncomfortable about standing on the sidelines carping about him without offering him a reasonable right to reply. So I suggested a Skype debate in which he could discuss his rationale for criticising the Royal College of Nursing, my union as it happens, for politicising the PPE crisis. I contacted him on his Facebook page, my Facebook page, on Twitter, and of course by direct email. Click the notification that's just appeared on your screen to hear that offer in full. Yesterday, I received a letter dated 5 days earlier, in which he declined my offer because he thinks that social media isn't always the appropriate forum for political discussion. That's his opinion, and of course he has a right to it. But it's more than a little hypocritical in the circumstances. Not only that, it's an attempt to quiet the voices of those with whom he disagrees. Let me explain why, and why his stance is undemocratic to its very core. Oh yeah, and let me apologise for not showing you the actual letter. That's because I know from my own experience and from the experiences of others just how litigious Jenky and his little helpers, his elves if you will, can be. And I'm unsure of the legality of publicising the actual letter without his express consent. That's also why I'm using obviously poor images to represent him. If you're interested in that little attempt to silence opposition, involving a couple of Jenky's little elves, click the notification that's at the top of your screen right now. But anyway, to business. First, the hypocrisy. Although currently a Conservative MP, Jenky used to be a UKIP candidate. In fact, that was how I first came across him. He challenged me on social media to show that UKIP was inherently far right, which I duly did in a series of blog posts with references that totalled around 10,000 words. He was happy to challenge me on social media then, but when I responded with incontrovertible evidence, he went oddly silent, apart from accusing me of outright dishonesty. You see, it's not that Jenky doesn't do politics on social media. It's that he doesn't like to lose on social media. Even now, Jenky's all over social media talking politics. His Facebook page, newly created after the election, is chock full of political claims. Indeed, he has blocked so many people from commenting when they ask him awkward questions. Some of us have been unblocked, I suspect only after I released a video highlighting his attempt to silence constituents. But by no means all of us have been unblocked. I know several who weren't unblocked, and at least one who has been blocked since this amnesty. Jenky recently used Twitter to put forward some figures referring to government funding. It's interesting that I challenged him on those figures, and he correctly, as it turned out, challenged me back on social media. I issued a retraction video shortly after, but that's the only time he's responded since joining the Tories, presumably because it was the only time he knew he could show himself to be right. This suggests very strongly, at least to me, that on every other occasion when he hasn't engaged on social media, it's because he wasn't so sure of his ground, or possibly even that he knew for a fact he was incorrect. Unfortunately, since he declined my offer of debate, I can't really know the answer to that for certain, and I'll have to leave you to form your own conclusions. More significant, though, for an elected representative, is the dismissal. By claiming that social media is not always the appropriate place for political debate, Jenky is claiming two other things by default. First, He's claiming that the most significant way that most of us have to express ourselves and our opinions publicly is not valid. He's trying to prevent us from using our freedom of expression and the modern world's most effective manner to criticise him. After all, he seems to have no problem with engaging on social media with those who agree with him. He talks politics with them on a very regular basis. Secondly, by invalidating the population's prime method of social discourse, he is effectively denying our right to join in political discourse. He's effectively telling us that we should just shut up and let the politicians make all the decisions unchallenged. The letter did open with an acknowledgement that MPs should be accountable, but when he goes on to denounce the most effective ways to hold him to account before his constituents, that does ring a little hollow in my view. But what do you think? Is it justifiable for Jenky to refuse to engage on social media with people who challenge him, whilst constantly talking politics with those who don't? Is it okay to claim that social media isn't always the appropriate forum for talking politics, when in fact the only differentiation he seems to make is whether or not engagement will make him look good? Is that the sort of accountability that he meant at the start of his letter to me? Is this the approach of a genuinely democratic representative, or of a self-serving egotist? I'd love to discuss these questions with Jenky himself, but it seems he doesn't want to participate. Ho hum. What's your opinion? Let me know in the comments.